All right, let's start with our top focus in the bulletin. Syria. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has fled the country, and Russia has released the statement announcing the news, stating that he has resigned and has given orders for a peaceful handover of power. The Russian statement said that Moscow is in touch with all opposition groups and calls for respect of all ethnic groups in the country. The Russian Foreign Ministry confirmed that Assad decided to step down and instructed the peaceful transfer of power, though Russia has clarified and specified that his whereabouts still remain unknown. Russia also clarified that it did not participate in the discussions. The rebel forces have announced curfews in Damascus starting 4 p.m. local time until 5 a.m. And this was after Syrians reportedly ransacked the presidential palace in Damascus after news came that Bashar al-Assad and other top officials had left. Then on Sunday, the rebels had claimed full control over Damascus, signaling the toppling of the Assad regime, and the fall of the capital marks the end of his family's rule over Syria, which has lasted for almost 50 years. Videos also showed rebels firing celebratory rounds inside Syria's presidential palace in Damascus. Now, after the takeover by the rebel forces, the Syrian Air Force, they made an abrupt U-turn after taking off from Damascus airport, disappearing off the radar. And this possibly indicates that the flight was of the embattled leader Bashar al-Assad himself. It suddenly went off the radar, and now his whereabouts are not known since a number of hours. People in different Syrian cities have taken to the streets celebrating what they call a historic moment. Thousands waved flags of the Syrian Democratic Forces and chanted for freedom. The rebels have declared the ouster of Assad and promised to transition to a government that reflects the sacrifices of the Syrian people.
والله نحن طلعنا احتفلنا بالاحتفال الكبير وعرس للعالم كله، والعالم كانوا متوقعين له نهاية سقوط الطاغية، والعالم بلشوا يحتفلوا. نحن بنحتفل مع العالم، وإن شاء الله ترجع سوريا أحسن من الأول، وترجع الأمور بخير وسلامة وتعم على سوريا كلها. نحن طلعنا جبت الأولاد من البيت وطلعنا احتفلنا مع العالم، وهذا لازم كان يصير من زمان.
Rebel forces claimed control over key military locations, including Meze Airport, as they push to complete the transfer of power. Now, in a statement, the Syrian rebel coalition said the struggle to oust the regime has now turned into a fight to rebuild a Syria for the people.
بمطار المزة العسكري الحمد لله وفضل من الله.
All right, it has been a complicated situation in Syria. There's lots to unpack here. I want to now introduce our guest who's joining me on the broadcast, Mohammad Samir Kheder, Executive Editor of Daily News Egypt and political analyst, joining us from Cairo. Mr. Kheder, thank you so much for making time and joining me on the broadcast. Sir, HTS has taken... Thank you. HTS has taken over. Assad has resigned, as Russia has confirmed. What do you feel Syria's new leadership will look like now onwards?
Well, the current situation is still very fluid. We can see that the rapid collapse of the Assad regime was not expected. The regime fell in around 10 days. You can see that the Blitzkrieg offensive was led by the most powerful force, rebel force, the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is an Islamist group that was formerly a Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda. So there is a lot to unpack, as you mentioned, with the control, the fleeing of Bashar al-Assad and HTS controlling the capital and the whole country. Now rises the question about the future of Syria. You have a lot of foreign influences in the country that you need to think about. Turkey is one of the major influential powers in Syria. Turkey is backer of a lot of HTS and a lot of other rebel groups. Now, the umbrella that all of the anti-Assad forces were under now raises the question, what will happen in the future? How is there will be an interfighting between these groups? We saw this before in Idlib, after they controlled the city. there were intra-fighting between rebel groups led by HTS and other groups in the city. Let's hope that maybe Syria will have a different scenario this time. We also, there is the problem of minority.
Yes, I just wanted to come in there. You mentioned, you know, and the entire world has seen how long it really took HTS to take over Damascus, overthrowing a 50-year-long Ba'ath Party reign in matter of days. Now, there was a stalemate since 2020. Why did it suddenly happen now? Too many questions here. And HTS, where have they got their funding from and their training from to carry out and execute this kind of an operation to take over an entire country?
Well, the HTS had around 10 years to prepare, and they already were in talks with different other players to rebrand themselves as a non-radical group, which has been ongoing over the past years. The Golani, the leader of HTS, has distanced himself with other extremist Islamist elements in the Syrian revolution. He started to change the tone. He started to also say that, okay, we will protect, we will not attack other minorities in Syria. As you know, Syria is a very diverse society. And this is one of the difficult questions. You have the Kurds, you have the Alawis, who Bashar was from, you have Druze, you have Christians, and you have a lot of minorities which are now fearing what will happen under the rule of HTS. When it comes to funding, it's unknown, especially that HTS is supposedly, it is a designated terrorist organization by different countries, including even the UN and the US. And al-Julani has a bounty, a US bounty on his head of $10 million. But what we know so far, that there is some sort of agreement with at least the Turkish side that they will, as I said earlier, distance themselves from the more extremist forces and try to rule Syria in an organized and
it seems that Mr. Jolani is going to be now the next leader. That's what is being indicated by most reports now, is a person who had a $10 million bounty on his head just about 7 years ago, something that the US embassy in Syria still carries on its X account. And along with that, there are a lot of foreign influences in Syria. We're all aware of them. Russia still has its military bases there. US still has military bases there. There is a lot at play here. But as of now, I just want to cut into a number of bites that we've received from people who have been actually displaced. Mr. Khader, stay with us. I'll just come back to you. As of now, a large number of displaced people seem to be rejoicing after the fall of the Assad regime. Let's listen in to some of the reactions and we'll resume our conversation with Mr. Khader after that.
چون خسته بودن، چون ناراضی بودن از حکومت بشار اسد، خودشون خیلی حمایت کردن. امیدوارم در نهایت برای مردم اونا اتفاق خوبی بیفته.
It's really very mixed feeling. We cannot explain this feeling. It's a freedom, but what I would like to ask my people now to calm down and to plan for the future also.
شعور كتير كبير وبنشكر أهلنا في سوريا والأحرار إنه خلصونا من الظلم اللي كنا نحن فيه، والحمد لله رب العالمين، ورايحين إن شاء الله على سوريا نرجع نبني مستقبلنا ونرجع نبني بيوتنا، والشعور والله كتير كبير لأنه ما عادش فينا نوصف أكثر من هيك.
اليوم بالنسبة لي هو اليوم تاريخي، يعني يوم فرح، ما بعرف كيف بدي أعبر عن هذا الشعور، يعني صراحة يعني خلص كان في خوف جواتنا، طلع ما عاد في خوف. نحن هلا بمرحلة جديدة، بتمنى من كل الشعب السوري يكون ايد وحدة، ما يكون في طائفية، ويكون في بداية جديدة.
الفرحة الحمد لله يعني بالخلاص من الظلم والفساد، بس يعني مشاعرنا هلا واملنا بالمرحلة الجاية قبل كل شيء الطمأنينة والهدوء والتفكير بعقلانية وعدم يعني الانجرار إلى الفوضى.
A lot of people are rejoicing over the fact that now they perhaps get to go back to their homes. We've seen some of the reactions, but there is still one question which remains unanswered. That mystery is yet to be solved. The whereabouts of Syria's former leader, Bashar al-Assad. Mr. Khader, I was speaking with you earlier. Mohammed Samir Khader, executive editor for Daily News Egypt, who's joining me is live with me on the broadcast. So, Mr. Khader, where could Assad really be, and whether he is alive, whether he is not alive, that also remains a question which is also being answered by a lot of people who are speculating on it. But as of now, what could be the possible places that he could have gone?
Well, it's all matter of speculation so far. What we are sure of that his airplane has took off. Reuters has reported that, citing sources, Syrian sources, that he might have been killed through, and that's why the airplane was off the radar. But I believe this is very speculative. Currently, I think
there were earlier reports which said that he may have gone to Tehran. Yes. Then there were some reports saying he may have gone to Saudi Arabia. It still remains very, very fluid, while the situation inside Syria also remains extremely, extremely volatile. Some explosions have also been heard at one of the strategic points. As of now, no one knows where they came from. But as far as Assad's whereabouts are concerned, anything that you suspect at this point, because obviously there's hardly any detail out on it.
I think that Saudi Arabia this is far-fetched. I don't think he will flee to Saudi Arabia. Tehran sounds like a probable place. Also, maybe Abu Dhabi, since the UAE has already, before the current events, has remended the relations with Assad regime, and UAE also is used to like what they did in Afghanistan. They took the president after he fled, and maybe he will head to Abu Dhabi as well. I don't think he will be heading to Moscow, since the current events, there was like not infighting, but different of opinions between the two countries.
And that is taking into consideration that he is still alive, because the fact that he may not be alive is also being reported by some sources. Again, it's all a matter of speculation as of now. So you're ruling out Saudi Arabia. It's more the higher chances of him perhaps going to Tehran or even UAE. And we have to also mention this, that the entire ordeal that we've seen right now in Syria, it seems eerily similar to what we saw in Afghanistan back in 2021. So the situation still remains very, very volatile. We will be tracking this very closely. But thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. That was Mohammed Samir Khader, executive editor of Daily News Egypt and political analyst, joining us from Cairo. Mr. Khader, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.